Welcome to Mindshift Power Podcast, the only international podcast focused on teens, connecting young voices and perspectives from around the world. Get ready to explore the issues that matter to today's youth and shape tomorrow's world. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mindshifter. And welcome. Today we have with us Janiya. She is 19. She lives in New York State. She is a college student. Now, you've heard her before, specifically on episodes 2, 5, and 61. If you haven't listened to those, please make sure that you do. And you'll learn a little bit more about her background and why she's on here again. So the reason Janiya is on here today is we're coming up on 2 years since Janiya and I met. And it's kind of an anniversary, so to speak, episode. And today we're going to talk about the value of coaching and what it has done for her and changed her entire life. So, and just to forewarn everybody, she is recording in her dorm room because unfortunately that's what she's got to be. And so you may hear some small background noises that she has no control over. But just forgive those. I will do the best I can to edit them out. But if I don't, just, be okay with it. So, Janiya, I am so excited to do this and for people to hear you again, but in a different way, with more particulars. So, how are you doing today, Janiya?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm really glad to have this conversation again. So, I like to dive right in. So, Janiya, we met 2 years ago, and I want to compare the Janiya that I met to the Janiya I'm speaking to today. So tell the audience, how did we meet?
How did we meet was at a after school program, and she created a girls blossom group where she wants to talk to like young girls before she can like connect to. She wants to like connect to like teen girls, and the girls wasn't coming, so I was the only one that was attending to her sessions.
After a while.
So then we were just talking about something, and then somehow she just jumped into she's like, "What do you like about yourself?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "What do you like about yourself?" She's just looking me straight into my soul, and I'm like, what in the hell is she talking about right now? Why is she even asking me about this? But when she asked me that, I really did not know who I was. I did not know.
Diving into that. So we met, I was doing volunteer work at a local community center. And I was volunteering to do a teenage girl group because they really needed help with teenage girls. And so I decided to do that. And that is how I met Janiya. But Janiya, I want you to tell the audience, go back to the Janiya that I met. How did she see herself back then?
I did not see myself. I didn't picture a good future for myself at all. I just thought I was someone that's going to have no sort of education, not know who I am, no self-love, just someone that has no goals. Really, I just see myself like a bum.
Did you see yourself as intelligent?
No, I did not at all.
Did you see yourself as desirable or worth anybody wanting to be around?
No, okay. I didn't see it.
And how do you see yourself now?
I see myself, I see myself that is very, very intelligent. I see a good future. I love myself very much. I wouldn't want to be nobody else. I'm grateful to be who I am. Yeah,
So there's a big drastic difference between the Janiya that I met and the Janiya you are now. And back then, how did you see your future?
I thought honestly, I didn't see no future, no good future. I didn't see myself finishing school. I didn't see myself going to college. College didn't even cross my mind because I thought I thought I wasn't built for college. I thought I was just stupid and dumb and slow. That's literally, that was built. Those words were built in my mind. So I didn't see no future.
The other thing I want to ask you is you were in a relationship back then.
Yes.
And How was that relationship? Just very briefly.
It's very was very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't see no future as well, because that person didn't have no future. So like,
Mm.
that caught on to me,
Mm-hmm.
and um, it was really this person like was mentally abusive to me and said like bad stuff to me. That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I had like low self esteem as well. So I didn't know like
Right.
who I was, and I thought I was nothing without him. So I felt like I needed him to feel
Okay.
special.
There's a lot of young girls out there right now who are thinking in the same situation and thinking the same way. Would you be with that same type of person today?
Oh no, 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 no.
I love how quickly you just jumped out your skin. Oh, hell no. She's like, oh, no. So you see your future differently now, correct?
Yes,
How do you see your future now?
I see my future. All I can, I see success, like tons of like success. It's like I just, whew, everything I just get goosebumps. Like I can't
I
explain. I
love
just
it.
can't explain. I just see I see a lot of happiness and a lot of success, and
I
that's all I think about
freaking
every
love
day.
that. So I'm sorry, what did you say?
That's just what I think about every day.
Yeah, I know. And it brings me joy to see that. So you thought years ago, when I first met you 2 years ago, you thought that you had no future. You didn't even see yourself finishing school, much less going to college. That was like a pipe dream out in the clouds somewhere at the time. And I asked you about your future, but what specifically are you working on right now about your future?
Currently, I am a criminal justice major, but I'm thinking about switching to sociology. So since criminal justice and sociology has like a good connection, my counselors didn't want me. They didn't want to put me in sociology right away. So I'm just taking sociology classes. So I my for my sophomore year, I there's a huge chance of me um taking majoring sociology and then maybe having a pre law as a minor to
But
help me
what's your
fashion.
eventual goal? What's your eventual
My
goal?
eventual goal is to go to law school and become a family attorney,
There you go. So you
not
went from
lawyer,
someone that
attorney.
thought she was dumb, thought she had no value, no gifts, no talents, didn't see yourself as ever even being remotely possible for you to go to college, to you are now in college, actively working towards your degree so you can go to law school and become a lawyer. And you really haven't faltered from that. You've waved back and forth a little bit about how you're going to do it and which classes and all that, but you haven't wavered on your end goal. And the
Right.
Janiya of 2 years ago didn't think she was capable of that, correct?
Yes.
You really actually believed that. And so now I want to ask you, because we're talking about coaching on this episode. For those of you listening right now, we're talking about coaching and what it has done for her. So just giving you a little bit of background about where she came from and where she is. Now we're going to dive into how that came about. So Janiya, what have you accomplished? I just named one, but I want them to hear your own words on it. What have you accomplished that you thought you never would?
Things that I have accomplished that I would never would is the first accomplishment I made into like to now how I am is finding who I am
Mm-hmm.
and finding who I am and then accepting who I am. And then after that, accepting who I was, I had no other choice but to love myself because self-love is important because if I don't love myself, how can I love anyone else? And that's very important and we should value ourselves.
Isn't that's true? And it's not only about loving other people; it's about the accomplishments that you've made. You didn't have the confidence when I met you
Yeah,
to make the moves that you've made. The old Janiyah would never have tried to do that on her own because
right.
she wasn't in a mental space to even try. And I'm saying that because there's so many other young women listening right now who are still in that space where you were, and they don't believe in themselves. They think they're dumb. They think they're ugly. They think that they're not worth much. They don't have any gifts and talents. It's not just you. There are thousands of girls, really probably millions, since we're talking to international audience, who actually believe that about themselves. And it is never true. It's never true. It's just never, ever, ever true. The details might be different and the how might be different, but it's just never true. So I want you to tell the audience, okay, that's one thing you found yourself. Another thing, which I already mentioned, is the fact that you're in college. And, you mentioned earlier, you never
Yes.
thought in a million years that that would be you.
No.
But you've accomplished that. You got out
Yes.
of a
That was
toxic relationship. You have self-esteem now that you never had before at all. You are actually actively in college and doing well. And you never thought that any of that was possible because that's just not where you were when I met you.
yeah.
Those are major, 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 major things. There's a lot of other little micro accomplishments that you've made, but I would name those as the big ones. So now I want you to tell the audience in your own words, and then I'll explain it afterwards, but I want them to hear from you. How did that happen? About your difference between the Janiya of 2 years ago and the Janiya of today.
Well, because I met you.
Yes, but you met me, and you got coaching from me. But
Right.
what are some of the specific things that have really helped you to develop into who you are?
I remember the first thing, she gave me a homework. And the
Everybody
homework
gets
was,
homework.
and the homework was she made homemade lotion and she gave it to me and she told me, when you put this on, say I love myself. And then I did that. And then the next time I seen her, she said, okay, are you still doing the homework? Are you still taking your lotion and rubbing it on yourself, saying I love yourself? I'm like, yeah. She said, okay, I want you to change it and say, I am so precious. So I'm like, okay. I questioned myself in my head, but I still did it. And when I
Was that
did
hard
that,
for you to do at first?
it was so
Mm-hmm.
weird. I'm like, yeah, I love myself. I am so precious. And I was like, who are you talking to? It was just
Yeah, probably.
it was so weird. But then day by day, it was just a normal thing. And then I started to actually believe it. So that's how that was like the first thing I've ever done, was basically telling myself, I love myself. I'm so precious.
Let me ask you this. When we first met, I asked you questions that made you uncomfortable, correct?
Yes.
But did they work?
Yes.
But I asked you those questions, but I also did not shove it down your throat, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that to the audience because I think it's important to point that out. Because real coaching, if you're going to be with a coach or a therapist or anything in between, if they only want you to be comfortable all the time, run, because they're not helping you grow. If you want a person to grow, there's going to be discomfort. It comes with the territory. So if you don't want that, then what you want is to go to a diaper station and have your bottom powdered because you want to be babied. That doesn't help you grow. So my point in saying all that is that I said things that made her uncomfortable, but they worked because they made her think. They made her realize, oh my God, I don't have anything good to say about myself. I think there might be something wrong with that. And she didn't realize it at first. It took her a while. I had to kind of coach her out of being quiet and reserved and not, I had to coach her out of holding everything back all the time, and got to a point where she was freely willing to express herself to me, kind of like for the first time with anybody in that manner. And it was beautiful to see. There are many other ways that I was able to coach you. So have we had a lot of conversations?
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that I've said to you that have clicked or made a difference for you?
So the first, like I said in the beginning, was she said, what do you like about yourself? I couldn't, my mind literally went completely blank and I couldn't answer that question. I'm not gonna lie. I thought, no, that sounds messed up. I thought it was like complete like bullshit. Cause I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, how is this gonna help me? And I can't even, I'm like, I don't even know the answer to that. I'm like, what kind of question is
Mm-hmm.
that? Like, this is like some sort of BS. And then another question she also asked me was, Yeah, so she said, "What is something that you used to do a lot when you was a kid?" I'm like, I don't know, dancing and stuff. I don't know. She's like, "No, it's not that, but like, what is something that you just loved to do when you was a kid?" I'm like, "What is she talking about? Like, what do kids do? They just play." So I'm like, "What is she talking about?" I couldn't answer that question. Right, I couldn't answer that question. I had it took me at least
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 days to figure out. So I'm just sitting on a couch. I'm just really thinking about, I'm like, what is this? What kind of question is this? What is something I used to do? What is something that I used to do when I was a kid a lot? Something I used to do when I was a kid a lot was just always something I used to do was explain myself all of the time. When I say all the time, if I see something that's not right and it bothers me so much, I will give an explanation. And my family, they would think like, she's just being a smart aleck. She don't know what she's talking about. Whoopty whoopty whoop, all that stuff. And yeah, and then it started to build up, and I'm like, well, wait a second. I know what I like talking. Like I just love talking to people. I like to talk to people and give and still like if they ask me a question, I'll be more than happy enough to like explain it. And then another thing I also do is I like talking to myself.
You have, there's been a lot of different ways that I have, in the conversations that we've had. So we've had a lot of conversations over these past couple of years. And I want the audience to understand also, did these changes happen overnight?
No, it was like this was like around January, February through all the
Mm-hmm.
way to like May.
Well,
So
that
I
part, yeah. But what I want to point out is that you've changed, and
yeah.
you're still changing, you're still growing, you're still advancing. And that's exactly what you should be doing. Now, have you had moments where you wanted to just quit and punch a hole in the wall and go away?
Yes.
And do I get a phone call every time?
Yes.
Yes, I get a phone call when she's feeling that way.
Anytime discouraged, I always call Miss Vang because yeah.
And but you haven't given up. You haven't quit. Now, the thing I want to point out is I may have coached you out of quitting and coached you in those moments where you were feeling down and defeated and weak. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's still running. I didn't run for you. Have I ever, let me ask you this. There are times where you would seek my advice for things and then I wouldn't give it to you. What did I do
Oh my
instead?
god, I hate when she does that.
What would I do instead?
You just ask me questions.
Mm-hmm. And do you 100% of the time you come up with the answer when I do
Yeah.
that? And it's annoying at first because I'm not just handing you an answer on a silver platter. Now, sometimes I will because of the situation, because of timing matters, depending on what it is. Sometimes I will just give you an answer, but most of the time I do not. I make you figure it out for yourself. And the reason is you can't grow if I'm doing all the growing for you.
Right.
You can't grow if I'm just handing you answers. It's important to me that you actually grow and become the woman that you were created to be. And you're not going to do that by me holding your hand and petting you all the time. You're going to do that because you're going to seek out some answers for yourself. And not only that, but when you find the answer for yourself, it's actually far more effective at you staying there and staying on that stance or believing in the decision that you made because you made it. I didn't tell you to make it.
Right.
And so, for those of you listening, I want you to understand something. This episode is not just about Fatima's a great coach. Yay. Yes, I am a good coach. And yes, I am here to tell you about that. But that's not the only thing I'm going to tell you because I'm not the only good coach in the world. Whether you come to me or you go to somebody else, the fact of the matter is coaching is needed very often, but especially for teens. Every coach is not the same, and we're not all going to be for you. And that's okay. But I'm not the only good coach out there. Coaching is needed because you can get to a better place faster and do something with your life and get ahead instead of 3 kids and two ex-husbands later going, oh, now I figured it out, which is what often happens with people. If you get a good coach while you're in high school and you actually listen, you can avoid a lot of the mistakes that some of the adults around you wish they hadn't made. Because it happens a lot. And I don't care what country you're in, what culture you're from, this is 100% true. So what do you think are the biggest values that you've gotten out of, you've gotten your self-esteem together, we know that. But when it comes to values, what would you say are the biggest values that you've gotten out of working with me?
A great sense of humor.
See, I never crack jokes. I'm always so serious.
Oh, no. Can't take it serious in times.
Tell the audience what you told me earlier about my sense of humor.
So, she came to my high school graduation, June 2024. And I'm sitting down. It was like, so they were talking in graduations, they do these long ass speeches, and it was like 5 minutes before everyone's gonna like walk and get their diploma. So I was nervous because I was like in the front since my last name starts with a C. And she's just texting me the most
ridiculous things. So let me tell y'all what I was doing. So I'm sitting here. I hope her mom's not listening to this episode because I'm sitting here knowing that she's nervous. I know that she's nervous because she's going to walk across the stage and I just knew she was nervous. Like, a lot of people are. And I didn't want her to end up tripping and falling or making a big mistake or making a crazy face because she was nervous. So I started texting her, talking real stupid. So I was texting her, spelling things really bad, talking like I'm from the streets. And anybody who knows me, that is not my normal mode of speech. So it's even funnier coming from my mouth because I don't talk like that. So I'm talking to her, talking about you is be edumacated now. When I spelled edumacated out. I is proud of you. Just really dumb stuff. I don't know what else I said, but I said all of these ridiculous things.
Me is so proud of you.
Yes. And I was just, and it wasn't just that what I was saying, I was spelling it as bad as I could. I was trying to find the absolute worst spelling of spelling things phonetically, and sending it off to her. So I'm texting her and everybody around her is like, why is this chick giggling? But you know what? When she got up and walked across to receive her diploma, she had a big old cheesy smile on her face and arrived with confidence. And the principal even was like, wow, she's really happy to get her diploma. But little did they know, I was actually being a little comedian, making her laugh so that she would have good pictures, be relaxed, and receive her diploma without tripping or, doing something else out of nervousness. So even though I was being utterly ridiculous and like, oh, why would you ever send somebody those kind of texts? You haven't met me. I say crazy stuff because humor is sometimes needed. And with me, you're always going to get that because even though I'm very serious and very deep, I'm equally goofy. That's actually what makes me work well with teenagers because I am not all deep and serious all the time. I'm also really goofy because sometimes it's needed. And in Janiya's situation, it was actually needed. And it did crack me up because her mother's sitting there. Apparently, she told me her mother was texting her like, why are you laughing?
Are you okay? But sense of humor is very important because like coming from like a teenager, I wouldn't want to like talk to someone that has like no personality, like give you like sort of like robot vibes. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Boring.
No robot here. But anyway, the point is, I'm here to talk about coaching and I'm using myself as an example. Yes, you can contact me to receive coaching if you want. I coach people of all ages, not just teenagers, but teenagers are my specialty. I'm not going to lie. I do have a woman right now that I'm coaching who's in her 60s. So I go across the spectrum because I acclimate my coaching to the people I'm talking to, regardless of age and regardless of culture or country. So humor is something that you're always going to get with me because it's an integral part of who I am. If you want robot vibes, there's so many robots out there already, so go pick one. Um, now,
Got
Janiya, I want to ask
ChatGPT.
you, what'd you say?
Got ChatGPT.
Exactly. Um, do you think it's a good idea for teens to get coaches?
Yes. Even if you
Why?
don't think you need it, get one, because you sometimes, a lot of teens, and I was one of these teens, you need help and you don't even realize you need help.
Hmm. And a coach is not a parent. I think that's important to point out. A coach is not a parent. So we can say and do things that a parent is not going to. A parent, their position is a parent, not a coach. So they're not going to do everything a coach is going to do because it's just not in the nature of their position as your parent. They're going to freak out more than we will because you were their child. I mean, that's normal. Honestly, it's really normal. And sometimes if you're a parent listening, it's a good idea to get a coach because simply your child's not going to tell you everything. You might have a relationship where they do, but count your blessings because that's extremely, extremely, extremely rare. And I mean extremely rare. It
Very rare.
is a good idea to have a coach, a counselor, a therapist, somebody, I don't care what title they are, somebody that they can talk to help flesh out their thoughts, advise them or guide them in the right direction. Because because you're their parent, they're not always going to listen to you. Even though you might say the same exact thing that I would. And I have coached people whose parents told them the same thing, but it was magical when it came from me. It's because I'm not their parent.
You
Not because
may
you're
think
wrong.
you know your Oop,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
You may think you know your child when you really don't. So that's why it is important.
Good point, Janiya. Very good. As parents, half of y'all really don't know your kids. There's many reasons for that, and not all of it's your fault. Sometimes you shut them down, so they shut you out, and they just don't share with you. But some of it's just simply because you're their parent, you take care of them, you want to make sure they're safe, so you go the extra mile that the other adults won't do. That's a normal part of parenting, okay? It's a normal part of parenting. So sometimes you don't know your kids because they're not opening up to you. And it's helpful to have somebody else. You could have an aunt, that favorite auntie who that might be your coach for them. And honestly, sometimes it's okay. It depends on who they are. But in some families, I've seen that absolutely work, or an uncle or a grandmother or somebody at the church, whatever it is. And that's okay. But they need someone who's not their parent that can help guide them because they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to listen to you the same way they're going to listen to me or someone else who's not their parent. That is just a fact. You might not be comfortable with that. You might not like it, but it's true. And if you really want to be helpful for your child, it's a good idea to seek out a coach or someone in their life that can help guide them in a way that you can't, because they will listen to them. Because you're a parent, so you don't know nothing. At least that's what most children think, and even though it's like 80% of the time not true. but when you're dealing with teenagers, that's just the nature of the beast. And so, yes, getting a coach for a teen is extremely important for most of them because we can help you to curtail some of the mistakes that dramatically change your life and cause you to delay progress for 10 or 20 years. Because that happens a lot. And I know a lot of adults are listening to me right now, shaking or nodding their head because they know it's true. Now, what do you have to say, Janiya? What do you have to say to teens around the world? This is an international podcast. We're talking to teens all over the world right now. You have an opportunity to say something to them. What do you want to say?
Do you guys know who you are? Do you know what you like about yourself? Do you know what you want to be in life? If you don't, just know you are not alone and you will figure it out if you decide to help yourself. If you don't, you're going to continue to feel like a lost soul.
Well said, Janiya. I can't even add to that because you said it so perfectly. Well, thank you, Janiya, for coming on. I really, really appreciate you doing another episode. She was really excited to do another episode because she just wants to give updates. But I will tell you, y'all, listening, for real, I have absolutely loved watching this girl grow. I have absolutely loved watching this girl grow and watching her become the leader she was born to be, because she is a leader. And it's starting to manifest. It's already started to manifest itself in a college. And I can tell you, as a coach, as a surrogate mother, whatever you want to call me. I love watching people grow. I love seeing people become themselves and recognizing the beauty that's within them. And if you want me to do that for you too, my website and everything will be in the podcast description, the show notes they call it. So you can contact me if I don't care where you are in the world. And I want to mention this because this is an international podcast and I'm talking to teens everywhere in the world. I don't care if you're Chinese, if you live in Saudi Arabia or Guatemala. También yo hablo español. So I do services in Spanish as well, by the way. I don't care where you are in the world. I'm able to actually still help you. Because something that you might not realize about me, because I don't talk about it a lot in my podcast, is that I actually have a lot of experience in working with people from other countries. And this experience has happened in different capacities and different positions that I've had in my life. And working with people of different cultures is something that I actually specialize in and understand. So even though I'm American, please don't assume that I have an American mindset. I really, truly do not. I understand if you are in Saudi Arabia and you're a woman, there are certain rules that you must abide by. There are certain parts of the culture that you live by. And I actually particularly understand that. And I can coach you according to to work within the culture that you are actually in. Just like you heard me work with Janiya within the mindset that she was in to help her move on to a better space or a better place. I believe in meeting people where they are and not just trying to Americanize you or change your mindset into an American mindset. I will not do that because if you're not American, I'm not trying to make you be American. If you live in Ecuador, then I'm going to work with your Ecuadorian culture and have you be successful where you are. And I think that's important to note because I don't want the audience out there to assume that, because I'm American, that I'm only going to come at you through American means or with an American mindset. I am not, and I do not, and I don't believe in that. So for all of you listening, please make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast, but take a look at my website and see if my coaching services are what you want. But I also want to say this, even if you don't want my coaching services or I'm not for you, that's okay. Please find someone who is. Get around some adults if you're a teenager who can help guide your life, who's not going to treat you like a little kid because they're not your parent. It's so important because there's so many of us that actually will and really truly care about you and want to see you do your best. There's so many of us out there. So even if I'm not the one, please make sure you grab onto somebody instead of going through 10 years of mistakes that you could have avoided if you had just allowed somebody to coach you. Having said all of that, again, thank you, Janiya, for coming on. And I will see you all next week. And now for a mind-shifting moment. I want to talk to specifically young girls right now out there, anywhere in the world, no matter where you are. Do you feel about yourself the way Janiya once did? Do you think that you're nothing now? Have very little hope or no hope for your future? Do you not believe that you're worth anything? That you have talents or gifts? Or that you're worth more? If that's you, like Janiya said, you're not alone. There are lots of you that feel that way, and every single one of you are wrong. If you would like to have help figuring out how to get over that, how to flip the switch around in your brain and learn your true value, give me a call. And if it's not me you call, allow somebody to help you because you are worth more than you think. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow or subscribe to Mindshift Power Podcast on any of our worldwide platforms, so you too can be a part of the conversation that's changing young lives everywhere. And always remember, there's power in shifting your thinking.